All right. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم صل وسلم وبارك وأنعم على سيدنا وحبيبنا محمد وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين أما بعد. So as a quick recap from last class or last dars, we finished off the topic of the Mawlid, or the birthday of the Prophet alayhi salatu wassalam, and showed different opinions of the ulama, the scholars, with regard to the birthday or celebrating the birthday of the Prophet alayhi salatu wassalam. Sure. Absolutely. All the better. All the better, honestly. Because, mashallah, that's awesome. And honestly speaking, I mean, that's, that's one of the issues that some people who are against the Mawlid, they would say, for example, the Sahaba radiallahu anhum didn't do it, but they did it on a regular basis, right? It's kind of like what you're saying. They celebrated the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam on a regular basis, like we saw in the ahadith, in different situations and scenarios where, they would praise the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, etc. So yes, absolutely. I mean, the more that we, and I'm using the word celebrate, but the word celebrate, sometimes has a specific what do you want to call it, definition to it that is not necessarily restricted to that definition, right? So when you celebrate someone's success or someone's big step in life, whether it's a graduation, a marriage, a child, whatever it is, they're all forms of celebrating that event, right? And they're all celebrated in different ways. But like I said, I think unfortunately when we say celebrate, we have a specific picture painted in our mind, which some people have an issue with for some reason. But that being said, to whether it's to celebrate or to commemorate or whatever term somebody wants to use, but definitely the more we integrate the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam into our lives, right, all the better, right? Like for example, once a sahabi came to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he explained to him how he dedicates a portion of his night prayers to sending salawat on the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, and praising the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. So he told him, he said, is that okay? And then the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam said that if you increase that, it would be even better. He said, what if I dedicated a fourth of the night to just strictly sending salutations and prayers and praising of the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam? He said, that's awesome. And if you increase it, even better. And then he said, what if I dedicate half? He said, that's great again, but the more you increase it, all the better. And then the hadith goes on, he keeps increasing it, and then he, at the end of the hadith, he says, what if I dedicate the whole time to you? Because the Prophet ﷺ's response kept being, the more you increase it, all the better, the blessings from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So he said, what if I dedicate the whole night to praising you and sending salutations on you? He said, if you do that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the meaning of the hadith in summary, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will essentially give you everything you desire without you even asking for it, and protect you from everything you want to be protected from without you even seeking protection from it. So to answer your question, of course, the more we again, quote unquote, celebrate the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, or thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, show our gratitude to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for having sent us the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, all the better. I know it was a little bit of a longer answer than maybe you wanted, but Khair, inshallah. Barakallahu feek. So we kind of concluded that subject. And look, at the end of the day, like, don't get me wrong, we have to be fair and we have to be just. Okay. Um, we, you may find people who, celebrate the birthday of the Prophet alayhi salatu wassalam, but then are falling short on a bunch of other aspects. Okay. Whereas you may have somebody who doesn't celebrate the birthday of the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, however, is a lot closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So at the end of the day, I mean, doing these things or not does not, you know, uh, decide whether somebody is, closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or not. At the end of the day, it's everybody's intention, and all that matters at the end of the day is that we respect each other's opinions, right? And that's the most important part of it. And like I said, everybody has their own way and form of celebrating the birth of the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, or the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam himself. I'm just gonna close the door here. One second. I don't know if it's gonna help. All right. So today, inshallah, we get into the actual lineage, okay, of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We're gonna go back quite a bit. Okay, so I'll try to avoid making it, to be very honest, because it might be difficult to just hear name after name. We're gonna discuss the individuals a little bit, but not in too much detail, except some a little bit more than others. So we'll just start off by taking the hadith, which mentions the names, and then we'll go through them one by one, inshallah. حدثنا هشام ابن الكلبي قال علمني أبي وأنا غلام نسب النبي صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم. So Hisham ibn al-Kalbi, he says that my father taught me the lineage of the Prophet صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم when I was a youngster. So he says, Muhammad صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم الطيب المبارك, the blessed, the pure. ولد عبد الله ibn Abd al-Muttalib. He's the son of Abdullah, or Abdullah, who is the son of Abd al-Muttalib. واسمه شيبة الحمد. So Abd al-Muttalib's name, Abd al-Muttalib is not his name. I'm not sure if many people know that. That's not his name. That was a nickname. Which you will see throughout when we go through the lineage and throughout the seerah, inshallah. You're going to notice a lot of people were only known by their nicknames. For example, another one which is which may be shocking is the daughter of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, alayha salam, Kulthum, alayha salam. That's not her name. That was a nickname, but that's all anybody knows her by. So Abdul Muttalib, who is known as being the grandfather of the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, everybody knows the grandfather of the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam is Abdul Muttalib, but very few know that that's not actually his name. That's a nickname, and we're going to explain how and why he was given that nickname. But his name was Shaybatul Hamd. Okay, and he was the son of Ibn Hashim. He was the son of Hashim. Wasmuhu. So Hashim also, it's not his name, that's his nickname. And his name was Amr ibn Abdi Manaf. Okay, so his name Hashim, it's like when we say Hashimi, right? That was his nickname. Okay, so his actual name was Amr ibn Abdi Manaf. And so his name was Amr, who was the son of Abdi Manaf. Abdi Manaf is also a nickname. Okay, for Al-Mughira. His name was Al-Mughira, but he was known as Abdi Manaf. And he was the son of Qusay. And Qusay was a nickname for Zayd. Okay, for Zayd, who was the son of Kilab. Okay, I'm just going by the text of the hadith here. However, even Kilab was a nickname, and we're going to look at them, okay? But I guess in this hadith, he stops clarifying the name and the nickname. And he says Zayd was the son of Kilab, who was the son of Murrah, who was the son of Ka'b, who was the son of Lu'ay, who was the son of Ghalib, who was the son of Fihr, who was the son of Malik, who was the son of Nadr, who was the son of Kinana, who was the son of Khuzaymah, who was the son of Mudrika, who was the son of Ilyas, the son of Mudar, who was the son of Nizar, who was the son of Ma'ad, who was the son of Adnan. So you see, like, the lineage goes back far, generations and generations and generations, mashallah. So they knew these this information of about the lineage of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now we're going to get into them one by one. We're going to mention them. We're going to mention their wives and all of their children from each couple. Okay? Don't worry, you don't have to memorize this. There's no test at the end of the class or next week. Maybe in a couple of weeks. No, I'm joking. So we have the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who was the son of Abdullah. And his wife was Amina. Amina was the daughter of Wahab, who was the son of Abd Manaf ibn Zahra, who was the son of Zahra. Amina, as-Sayyida Amina, is Qurashiyya. She's from Quraysh. A lot of people make the mistake of assuming that she was from Medina. A lot of people make the mistake saying that she was from Banu Najjar. We'll discuss why later. But she was actually from Mecca as well. She was from Quraysh as well. So Abdullah and as-Sayyida Amina were both from Quraysh. And obviously they had as a son the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That is the only child they had. Now Abdullah was the son of, like we said, Abdul Muttalib. And his name was Shaybatul Hamd. Okay? And his wife was Abdullah. She was known as mother of Abdullah, right? Who was their son, right? So she was known as the mother of Abdullah, as well as Abi Talib, right? And Az-Zubair وجميع النساء غير صفية, as well as all of the women except Safiya, because Abdul Muttalib had more than one wife. He had two wives. So here you have, for example, from the women, you had Fatima. You had Fatima. One second, where am I? So we have Abdul Muttalib, who, like we said, his name was Shaybatul Hamd. And he was married to, like we said, she was known as Abdullah, the mother of Abdullah. So like we said, they had Abi Talib, Zubair, وجميع النساء غير صفية, all of the women except Safiya. So for example, Fatima bintu Amr. So they had a daughter named Fatima. And you're going to notice the name Fatima throughout the lineage of the Prophet ﷺ. A lot of people assume and believe that only Sayyida Fatima, the daughter of the Prophet ﷺ, was the first one to be named that. But no, the Prophet ﷺ named her Fatima for very good reasons. Okay? And we're going to discuss that right now, inshallah, in just a bit. Where were we? So, yes, so Fatima bintu Amr ibn A'idh. Again, I want to try to avoid, going into into it too much, but I want you to see the link between the two families. I want to show you the closeness. So, for example, the husband and wife, they were always very close relatives. Okay, always like cousins, basically. At the end of the day, which may be strange for Westerners, but very normal for Arabs, even before Islam. So for example, I'm gonna name um, the names of the lineage of the wife of Abdul Muttalib, just so you hear some of the names that I mentioned in the prior hadith. You're gonna see that they go back to the same source. So Fatima was the daughter of Amr, who was the son of A'id, who was the son of Imran, who was the son of Makhzum, who was the son of Yaqadha, who was the son of Murra, and now you start from Murra, who was the son of Murra, the son of Ka'b, the son of Lu'ay. These are the names we just heard in the hadith. Who was the son of Ghalib, the son of Fihr, also one of them we heard in the hadith, who was the son of Malik and son of Nadr. Okay, so we see that again. So the families are very intertwined. Now, Abdul Muttalib, why he was named Abdul Muttalib? Because his uncle, okay, لأن عمه المطلب. So his name was Muttalib. His uncle's name was Muttalib. Okay. Once he took him on his horse and he had him riding on the back. Okay. From his uncles, Banu Najjar. So the uncles of Al-Muttalib were from Banu Najjar. Whereas sometimes that's where the confusion comes from, where they think that the mother of the Prophet ﷺ was also from Banu Najjar. Okay, because in Arabic, when you say the maternal uncles, we say khal. Okay, maternal uncle is a khal, and a paternal uncle is a am. Okay, and like we've discussed in the past, so when we say in Arabic as well, the mothers of the Prophet ﷺ, that means his mother and his grandmother, great grandmother, etc., etc., etc. Okay. When we say the fathers, that means the father, grandfather, great grandfather, etc., etc., etc. Same thing with the uncles. Okay, so same thing with the maternal uncles and the paternal uncles. Okay, so when we say akhwal, so the maternal uncles, when they mention this about the Prophet ﷺ, saying that they are the akhwal of the Prophet ﷺ, that they are from Banu Najjar, they're not referring to them being the brothers of his mother, but they're referring to them being the brothers of the grandmother of the Prophet ﷺ. Does that make sense? Yeah. So when they say the uncles of the Prophet, maternal uncles, when they say khal or akhwal, maternal uncles of the Prophet that are from Banu Najjar, it's not his mother's brothers. No, it's his grandmother's brothers. Okay. So in any case, so his uncle Al-Muttalib was, he brought Shaybatul Hamd, who was Abdul Muttalib, on the horseback that he came into the town with. When he walked into the town, or sorry, when the animal walked into the town, and you have Al-Muttalib and Shaybatul Hamd, we'll go by his name, Shaybatul Hamd, who was Abdul Muttalib, okay? He was young at the time. They were walking into the town on horseback, and the people of the town were in such awe to the beauty and the handsomeness, if you would, of Abdul Muttalib, of Shaybatul Hamd. So the people would say, Al-Muttalib ishtara abdan, that he bought, they started talking amongst themselves. They're like, it looks like Muttalib bought a slave. كأنه البدر. They said he looks like the crescent moon. He's so beautiful. In Arabic, when you want to refer to beauty, they always refer to the moon most of the time. Okay? They say you're as beautiful as the moon, or the crescent moon, or whatever. Uh, so they started talking because they saw this young man behind his uncle, and he was just so gorgeous and so beautiful, mashallah. That they were like, so they called him. They didn't know it was his nephew. Okay, so they're like, Al-Muttalib ishtara abdan. So they called him Abd al-Muttalib. So he was known as the slave of Al-Muttalib. Abd al-Muttalib means the slave of, or servant of, Al-Muttalib. That's his nickname, Abd al-Muttalib, which his name was actually Shaybat al-Hamd. So everybody referred to him as Abd al-Muttalib, and it stuck with him. Because people that's how word got around that, mashallah, this young man was so good looking, he was so beautiful. And they just called him the slave of Al-Muttalib. They didn't know what his name was. And it just stuck with him. Now, that's how he got his name. Abdul Muttalib, that's how he got his nickname. And they asked him, why did you just go with it? Why didn't you just why did you just let it go and just let people keep calling you the slave of Al-Muttalib, even though you're not the slave of Al-Muttalib? He says, because that is the nickname or the name that was given to me that associated me to my family. Right? It was the name that brought me back and linked me back to my family. So he kept it, even though his name was Shaybatul Hamd. Now, so the children of Shaybatul Hamd or Abdul Muttalib and his wife were Al-Abbas. So these are the uncles, right, of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So you have Al-Abbas and Hamza, right? Radiallahu anhum wa alayhim as-salam. And then you have Abdullah, who is the father of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, right? So one of their children, being Abdullah, is the one who had the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam as a child. And then his brothers were Al-Abbas and Hamza and Abu Talib, right? And then also Al-Zubair and Al-Harith. And then you also have Jahl and Al-Muqawwam and Dirar wa Ghaydaq wa Abu Lahab. Abu Lahab, one of the greatest enemies of Islam, who was known as Abu Lahab, who, again, Abu Lahab is his nickname, right? His real name is Abdul Uzza, Abu Lahab. And then they also had Safiya, wa Hakim, Hakim al-Bayda, and Atika, wa Umayma, wa Arwa, wa Barra. These were all of the children of Abdul Muttalib or Shaybatul Hamd and his wife. So the aunts and uncles of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the direct aunts and uncles. Okay. Now, Abdul Muttalib or Shaybatul Hamd was the son of Hashim, who, like we said, his real name was Amr. Okay. Now, he was called or named Hashim because he was known for many, many things. But one of the things that he was known for, and we're going to talk about the other things as well. SubhanAllah, time is really khair, inshallah. So he was known for grinding the flour, if you would, or making flour. Okay, so grinding the wheat and etc. to make flour for his people. And the action of the grinding, right? The one who does that is called that person is called Hashim. كان كان يسمى وسمي هاشم لأنه هشم الثريد. So the action of that grinding is hashama. So the person who does it is called a Hashim. So he was known as Hashim because he would constantly be the one working for his people, making that flour so that they can make bread and whatever else they want to use it for. However, his name was Amr. Okay? And Hashim, Sayyid Hashim, was known, subhanallah, in all areas around the Arabian Peninsula, if you would. Okay? To the point where, so people, when they would hear his name, they knew that this man was someone so honorable that he never turned away a guest. He was, anytime there was a guest that came into town, he was the first to welcome them, very hospitable. He was the first to protect anybody being wronged. Anybody being wronged, he was the first to protect them. The first to come to save anybody who was being wronged in any way, shape, or form. Okay? Always stood with what was right. When you find out where this man died, you'll understand why I'm getting emotional. Sayyid Hashim, he died in Gaza. Gaza's full name or full title, if you ask anybody who knows, it's not Gaza. It's called Gaza to Hashim. Nowadays, we simplify it, if you would, or say, or make it short. However, it's called Gaza to Hashim. So he died in Gaza. And like I said, he was the first always to stand for truth against the oppressor. Always. Everybody knew him as that. He was a very, very brave man, very strong man. Anybody who tried to stand in his way, they would fear him. But everybody also knew that he was the kindest man, the most generous man. And subhanAllah, anything that he touched, there was barakah in it. Be it him, be it the beauty of Abdul Muttalib, Shaybatul Hamd, that barakah, those blessings or the beauty seen in them was nothing less than the blessings and the beauty of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in their blood, in their DNA. Which is what made them stand out and what made them so honorable. And this man who literally died in Gaza, standing up for the oppressed, generations later, we're still fighting in Gaza to Hashim. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala free them and give them victory. And accept the martyrdom of everybody who was murdered and is being murdered. Like, if you remember at the beginning of these durus, we were talking about the lineage of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And the Prophet alaihi salatu, he told us that I am, the son of the son of the son of the son of the son who are all pure people. وَلِدْتُ مِنْ أَطْهَارٍ I was born and brought to this world from pure people, pure individuals, leaders of their people. Asyad, Sayyid qawmihim, the leaders of their people, the most honorable people, subhanallah. The grandparents, the great great grandparents, their parents, etc., 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 subhanallah. And Hashim or Amr, his wife was Salma, who was the daughter of Amr ibn Zayd, who was the son of Zayd, the son of Labiyad, who was the son of Khidash, who was the son of Amir, who was the son of Ghanm, who was the son of Uday, the son of Al-Najjar. ولهذا كان بنو النجار. And from this great grandmother, like we said, that's where the Banu Najjar link comes into. Okay? Being the maternal uncles of the Prophet ﷺ, but not directly. They were the uncles of the great grandmother of the Prophet ﷺ. And their children, Abdul Muttalib, like we said, Shaybatul Hamd, وسلمى أمه فقط. So his mother was Salma and nobody else. And then he also had Asad, the son of Hashim, and as well as Abu Safi, Saifi, who was the son of Hashim, and as well as Nadla, the son of Hashim, was Shifa as well, and Khalida, wa Da'ifa, wa Ruqayya, and Hayya. These were their children. Now Hashim was the son of Abdi Manaf. Again, a nickname for Al-Mughira. And some people, subhanAllah, they look at the lineage of the Prophet ﷺ and they see, for example, Abdi Manaf, and they start being like, oh, shirk, and because of the idols, etc. However, Abdi Manaf has nothing to do with any of their idols. It actually means, because Manaf in Arabic means the elevated one, someone who was elevated. Okay, and mashallah, he was very, very tall. So he was known as Abdi Manaf. However, his name was Al-Mughira. And his wife was Atika. I'm going to avoid, just for the sake of time and for the sake of your sanity, I'll avoid saying, daughter of, etc. But we'll mention their children so you can kind of see the link there quickly. So you have Abdi Manaf, who, like we said, his name is Al-Mughira, whose wife was Atika. And their children were Hashim, like we said, right? And you also have Abdu Shams and Al-Muttalib. Remember Al-Muttalib, who is the uncle of Abdul Muttalib, right? Because that's how he got his name, Abdul Muttalib, right? Because Al-Muttalib came in with Shaybatul Hamd behind him, and they called him, he is the Abd of Al-Muttalib. He is the slave of Al-Muttalib, which was his uncle. And then you have Nawfal as their child, and also Abdi Manaf. And then, so now, Abdi Manaf was the son of Qusay, who was known as Zayd. Now, I'm going to explain what, their nicknames, just so we can understand why they're giving these nicknames. So Qusay is the one that went ila Aqsa Makan. So Aqsa Makan is like the limits or the furthest away. Okay, so he, because of where he lived, where he chose to live, was a very far distance away. Um, so they called him Qusay, the one who went to the limits, the Aqsa Makan. So they called him Qusay, and his actual name was Zayd. And his wife's name was Hubay. And their children were Abd Manaf, like we just mentioned, Abdul Dar, Abdul Uzza, and Takhmur bint Qusay, and then Takhmur, the daughter of Qusay, and then Barra, also the daughter of Qusay. Now, Qusay was the son of Kilab. Kilab in Arabic literally means dogs. Okay? However, his name was Hakim. Just and again, the reason why I'm explaining this is so that you understand when you see or hear these names in the seerah or in a hadith, you kind of get why they were given these titles or nicknames. So he was given this name because he was known to constantly be, or he had like a, I don't know what you call them. It wouldn't be a herd, would it? Of wolves, essentially. Would it be a herd? It wouldn't be a herd. A pack? Yeah, a pack of wolves. So the thing, so it's not just wolves. So kilab refers to any animal in the dog family. So it could be dogs, so hunting dogs. It could be wolves. Any animal from the dog family, okay, is referred to as kilab in Arabic. So dogs. So for example, like when we say a feline, right? A feline is, it could be a cat, it could be a lynx, it could be a jaguar, a tiger, a lion, etc. Right? So in Arabic they say kilab for anything in the dog family. So wolves, dogs, hunting dogs, etc. So he was known to constantly have, like, I guess, a pack of a mixture of whether it be wolves, dogs, hunting dogs, etc. that he would use for hunting, for food, for the community. So he was known as Kilab. They called him, his nickname was Kilab. However, his actual name was Hakim. What was his wife's name? Fatima. Okay? So now we're going a few generations and we still see Fatima.
It's like us. We see the same names.
Exactly. Exactly. Um, so his wife's name was Fatima, and their children were Qusay and Zuhra. Now, Kilab was the son of Murrah, and his wife was known as Kilab, the mother of Kilab, right? Who was Hakim. Um, and their children were obviously Kilab, and then there was also Team or Tame, and then there was also Yaqadha. And then Murrah was the son of Ka'b, and his wife was Wahshiyya. And their children were Murrah and Adi and Husais. And Ka'b was the son of Lu'ay, who was known as Ka'b. And their children obviously were Ka'b and Amir and Samia and Auf. Now Lu'ay was the son of Ghalib, and his wife was Salma bint Amr al-Khuza'i. Okay, and obviously their son was Lu'ay and Taim or Taim. Now Ghalib was the son of Fihr. Um, and his wife was Layla, and their children were obviously Ghalib and Muharib and Al-Harith, and also Asad, and also Jandala. We're almost there. And Fihr was the son of Malik, who was married to Jandala. Um, and their son was Fihr. They only had Fihr. Now Malik was the son of another. And another is Quraysh. That's where Quraysh started. So the whole talk about Quraysh started from another. Okay? So anybody who came from the children of another were considered Quraysh. All right? And his wife was Atika. And obviously their son was Malik, but they also had Yakhlud. Now another was the son of Kinana. And his wife was known as al-Nadr, so the mother of another. And obviously they had for children another and Malik and Abdu Manah and also Milkan. Now Kinana was the son of Khuzaymah, and his wife was known as Kinana, and they had obviously Kinana as a son, and Asad and Asada, and Al-Hun. Khuzaymah was the son of Mudrika. So his wife's name was unknown. However, she was known as being from Qudaa, being from that tribe or family. Okay. And their children were Khuzaymah, obviously, and Hudayl. Mudrika was the son of Ilyas, and his wife was known as Layla. So for children, they had obviously Mudrika, and they had Tabikha, and they had Qam'a, and Ilyas was the son of Mudar. And his wife, and his wife was known as Jurhumiyya. And their children were Ilyas and Aylan. Mudar was the son of Nizar, and his wife was known as Mudar, Mudar, so the mother of Mudar. And for children, they had Mudar and Iyad and Anmar. And then Nizar was the son of Ma'ad. And then he says here, كتب سيدنا عمر رضي الله عنه إلى أبي موسى. So Umar رضي الله عنه wrote to Abi Musa once, أما بعد فتفقهوا في السنة وتفقهوا في العربية وأعربوا القرآن فإنه عربي وتمعددوا فإنكم معديون. So he referred to this great grandfather of the Prophet ﷺ being Ma'ad in this hadith. He was telling Abu Musa al-Ash'ari radiallahu anhu, he's saying essentially search knowledge in the Sunnah, in the ways of the Prophet ﷺ. And then he also says, essentially learn and perfect the Arabic language and the Quran. And he says, because it was in Arabic. And then he says, because you are Ma'addiyun. Basically, you are people of Ma'ad. Referring to this great grandfather of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And Ma'ad was the son of Adnan. And that's where the hadith stops. Right? So, just to go back a little bit here, we'll look at quickly the uncles and aunts of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and who did we say, the grandmother of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, whose name was, like we said, Fatima, right? So the grandmother of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam's name was Fatima. We saw one of the great grandmothers of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam named Fatima. However, there's also someone else whose name was Fatima, who was very special to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and we're going to go into her seerah a little bit later when we get to her, inshallah. And she was the wife of Abu Talib, the one who raised him. Exactly. Yes, the mother of Sayyidina Ali, alayhi salam. So now you kind of get to see the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was raised from this beautiful woman, Fatima bint Asad. Okay, being the mother of Sayyidina Ali alayhi salam. She was essentially his mother. And what did he name his last daughter? Fatima alayhi salam. And again, some people they come up with these very strange conclusions. And we're like, subhanAllah, Fatima was a name from Jannah, and it was the first time anybody was ever named Fatima. And I mean, subhanAllah. I mean, like literally the woman who raised him, her name was Fatima. His grandmother's name was Fatima. One of the great grandmothers of the Prophet ﷺ's name was Fatima. And this woman, Fatima bint Asad, radiallahu anha, was so special to the Prophet ﷺ. I mean, just imagine. The Prophet ﷺ was an orphan. He lost his mother. And then this woman raised him. This woman and Abu Talib. Right? And again, we're going to get into their seerah a little bit later on, or actually very soon. But just to give you a little glimpse or a taste, if you would, for the love that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam had for this family. This family essentially took him in. So Abu Talib and his wife Fatima, which you'll start to see, and again when we get into his seerah, you'll see it as well, of Sayyidina Ali radiallahu anhu alayhi salam, also why the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was so close to Sayyidina Ali alayhi salam. Which is why Sayyidina Ali radiallahu anhu alayhi salam was such an amazing example or copy of the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. He was so young when he accepted Islam. He was a young boy, right? And being so close in family ties, because so his parents raised the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, right? And he ended up accepting Islam so young. So he grew up his entire life so close to the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, which is why when we get into the hadith about the virtues of Sayyidina Ali radiallahu anhu alayhi salam, it's mind-boggling. It's mind-boggling. And to be very honest with you, a lot of Sunnis have have an issue with that for some reason. Subhanallah. I mean, they can, you'll have us, Sunnis sit through hours of virtues with regards to Sayyidina Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anhu. But when you push it a little too far with Sayyidina Ali radiallahu anhu, they're like, no, these are Shias, right? But it's not. It's not. These are in our ahadith. These are in our traditions, and it's sad that we allow these politics to interfere with our deen, with our religion. Because whether you like it or not, these are things that the Prophet ﷺ did say about Sayyidina Ali radiallahu anhu wa alayhi salam. And we're going to get into those topics a little bit later, inshallah. Now, next dars, inshallah, we're going to get into the topic about the parents of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Will we be able to start it? Yeah, I think so, inshallah. Yeah, I will start it, inshallah, next dars. What I mean by that is because there are a couple ahadith in which people use to refer to the mother and the father of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and they use those ahadith as a proof, if you would, to say that the parents of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam were not Muslims and they are in the fire. And we're going to look at those ahadith. وَعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ. But we're going to look at those ahadith. We're going to explain those ahadith. Because, which is why from the beginning of these durus, I kept emphasizing the terminologies used by the Arabs. For example, like we said about when we refer to somebody as, or somebody's mother, it's their biological mother. It could be their biological mother, but it also could be a maternal aunt. Maternal aunt, not paternal. It could be a maternal aunt. Similarly, in Arabic, when you call someone your father, it would be the paternal uncle, not maternal uncle, the paternal uncle. And like we just saw earlier as well, when you refer to somebody as, their mother, it could be their mother, their grandmother, great grandmother, etc. The father, grandfather, great grandfather, etc. And there's many ways that these terminologies are used for different individuals throughout the family. Okay, which is why I anytime that topic or that term came up throughout these durus, I made sure to emphasize it. Remember this, because when we get to these ahadith that we're going to get to inshallah next dars, it's going to help you, put things together, and help us understand those ahadith a lot better than the context that people put them in, which is unfortunately out of context. So inshallah we'll get into that next dars, and look at the opinions of the ulama with regards to those ahadith, and with regard to the parents of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wa alihi wasallam. Jazakumullahu khair. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Any questions?
I'll have to look at that more whenever I get home. All that.
Yeah, mashallah, it's a lot. It's a lot, mashallah.
It's the same thing whenever I was taking the first courses, with the book and stuff
Yeah,
like that.
yeah.
At first you're just starting, so but after you get into it.
No, of course. And like I said, you don't have to memorize this, of
Yeah,
course,
that's a good thing.
right? You don't have to memorize it. It's good just to understand the lineage of the Prophet ﷺ, just to kind of see the links, and especially the closer ones, like the father, the mother, grandfather, great grandfather, and then you can kind of, like we said, where Quraysh started from. You see, it was like the great grandfather, like that's where Quraysh came from, and then the Hashimis came from Hashim, right? So you kind of, so then that's where the split happened, if you would, between the Qurashis and the Hashimis, right? So the ones who ended up coming from, even though Hashim was from Quraysh, right? But then the children of Hashim and then the children of Quraysh, there was that, what do you want to call it? Tension, if you would. Okay. Or maybe animosity or some sort of jealousy, if you would. Because the Prophet ﷺ ended up coming directly from the Hashimis, even though he is from Quraysh, essentially, right? But, closer to the Hashimis. Subhanallah. So like I said, it's just good to get an idea to kind of like see the puzzle pieces put into place. We definitely don't have to memorize this.
It's good to know.
Of course, absolutely. Absolutely. Barakallahu feeki.
It's like when somebody's talking Chinese, but if somebody explains a bit and then you can.
Of course. Yeah, absolutely. Barakallahu feeki. Any questions? Anything else?
Asia that can help.
Yeah, absolutely. Inshallah. Inshallah.
The mawlid that they do, the shimmering light.
I'm sorry?
The mawlid that I attend most is with the shimmering light by Habib Umar
Okay.
from Yemen.
Okay.
And they go through that whole lineage to Adnan.
MashaAllah.
Remember the lineage.
MashaAllah.
And actually the whole mawlid is the seerah.
Of course. Yeah. Yeah, MashaAllah. That's awesome, MashaAllah. May Allah bless you, inshallah. Barakallahu feekum.
It was nice to be back.
Yes, it was nice having you back.